Okay, so to do standard deviation, I'm going to give you an example of how to find standard deviation. Standard deviation deals with spread and variability with data sets. So it's going to tell us the spread and how variable these numbers in yellow are from each other. Okay, so it's going to give us information about inside of the numbers. Okay, so the numbers, they go from 2 to 11. Okay, so first thing, you do not need to put them in order. You can if you want, but for standard deviation, you don't have to. So the first thing you're going to do is I have 8 numbers. So 8 numbers here. Okay, what are those numbers? Well, the first one is 5, 9, 11, 4, 6, 11, 2, 7. You list them all there. Okay, and then the next thing you're going to do is find the sum. Okay, the sum means add them all up. So let's add up all the numbers. So I have 5 plus 9 plus 11, so on and so forth, all the way till you get to the end. And when you add them all up, you get 55. Okay, the average. Well, the average is you add them all up and divide by how many numbers. Well, there's 8 numbers total, so I'm going to go 55 divided by 8. I'm going to get 6.875, so I'm going to round it to 6.9, almost 7. Okay, that's the first thing you're going to do. Okay, so the mean of the data values is, oops, let me move these down. So one more time. So all I did was find the average, which was 6.9. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over here to where it says deviations. Deviations, data value. Well, these are the data values minus the mean. Well, the first one is 5. So I'm going to go 5 minus, that's the data value or the data value. 6.9 was the mean. Okay. So when you calculate that, you're going to get negative 1.9. Okay. The next number is 9 minus the mean. Okay, you're going to keep doing that. So let me list them all out. It's always going to be minus 6.9 because that's the mean of all the numbers. And you're subtracting each of the numbers from there. Some of them are going to be positive, some of them are going to be negative because some of the numbers are bigger than the mean and some of the numbers are smaller than the mean. Okay, so 9 minus 6.9, you're going to get 2.1. Okay, 11 minus 6.9, you're going to get 4.1. 4 minus 6.9, you're going to get negative 2.9. 6 minus 6.9, you're going to get negative 0.9. 11 minus 6.9, I've done that before, it's 4.1. 2 minus 6.9, you're going to get negative 4.9. And then the last one is 7 minus 6.9. Those numbers are almost the same. 7 and $6.90, they're pretty much the same except 0.1 off, positive 0.1 off. Okay, so these are what we call deviations. Deviations. Deviations are how far were each of these numbers away from the mean here. How far were they off? Some were higher, some were lower. The ones that were higher are positive. The ones that are lower are negative. So all of these numbers are what we call deviations. So the next step is squared deviations. So we're going to take each of those numbers and square them. So square means multiply times itself. So in my calculator, I'm going to go negative 1.9 times negative 1.9. And I get positive 3.61. Same thing here. So I'm going to do that for all of them. 2.1 times 2.1, 4.41. So I'm going to do that for every single number here. I'm going to square it. Okay, so 4.1 times itself is 16.81. To negative 2.9 times itself is 8.41. 0.9 times itself, 0.81. 4.9 times itself, or negative 4.9 times itself, is 24.01. And then 0.1 times itself is going to be 0.01. Okay, so these are all, now we have squared deviations. These are all the deviations, how far they were off, squared. Now the next thing is going to do is sum of squared deviations. Well, these are all the squared deviations here. If these are all the squared deviations, sum just means I'm going to add them all up. Okay, so you're going to add up all of those numbers. They're all positive now because you squared them. Okay, so that's what you're going to do next. So I'm just calculating it right now on my calculator. I get 74.88. Okay. Now, the next one says the mean. So we go back to that word mean. Mean of the squared deviations. Well, we did means over here. Mean means divide, okay? So what are we going to do? What are we going to divide by? We're going to divide by the number of squared deviations. Well, over here, there are 8 of them. So I'm going to divide by 8. I'm going to divide this number by 8, the number I just added up. And I get 9.36. Okay. The last step is to take that number and find the square root of it. Because remember, I squared them up here. Now I got to do the opposite, which is square root. Okay, so let me find, so 9.36, the square root. So I got to find what number times itself makes 9.36. Well, that's where you use your calculator. So the square root of 9.36 is about 3.059. So a little bit more than 3. And guess what? That is your standard deviation. So what this means is, and this is what I'm going to ask you on the mastery checkpoints, is what does that number mean? What does 3.059 mean? How do I deal with it? Well, that's the spread or the variability of the numbers. Each one of these numbers up here, if I add them all up, I find that the average is about 7. On average, they vary by about 3. Because all of these numbers are not 7. One of them is 7, right? One of them is close to 6.9. The rest of them are not far away, but they're not 6.9. So on average, they vary by about 3. So they can go up 3 or down 3. So most of the numbers are within 3 of the mean here. That's what it means. That's what standard deviation is.